I don't care how technically brilliant you are in your field. If you don't understand people, you are going to neutralize all of your powers. By Robert Greene, The Laws of Human Nature. Today we will be discussing 10 laws outlining the hidden motivations and behaviors that drive human interaction. Most people tend to think they are rational, but to be honest, most decisions are guided by emotions. Understanding ourselves and the people around us is the most important skill we can have. After all, we need people, and in most cases we are surrounded by them every day anyway. I have seen very intelligent colleagues lose their jobs because of lack of people skills. Believe me, understanding this is crucial for our everyday interactions. Law number 1, the law of irrationality. This law encourages us to become aware of our emotional biases and observe ourselves objectively. Let's take Susie and Amaka for example. They're not really best of friends, but they are good colleagues, currently working on a project together. Susie had made some final suggestions, but Amaka, who was a key player, chose to ignore because she thought it was an overkill. When Susie noticed her suggestions wasn't added, she suddenly lost it and sent a strong-worded email copying Amaka's boss and some other stakeholders. I don't understand why you are always messing things up. You completely ignored my suggestions. This is beyond frustrating and making it impossible to work with you. Maybe next time, actually read what I sent you before going ahead doing your own thing. Amaka is now hurt and thinks Susie overreacted, especially as she had thought she's done her best to do what was needed. Susie, on the other hand, knows she was harsh at Amaka, but she was fed up with this way of working. Also, the real truth behind the flare was that she has had some inside information that Amaka is about to be promoted, while she's been bypassed for the second year in a row. I'm sure you've experienced something similar whereby someone overreacted and you were left wondering where on earth that came from. Or maybe you were the one overreacting, causing pain to someone else. This happens because we can't think rationally all the time. Sometimes it's just possible that we get dominated by emotions and end up making bad decisions. That being said, emotions are not bad things. The problem is that they are guided by this very simple principle. We are always trying to avoid pain and find pleasure. This means that even when we know what the right thing to do is, doing it is never easy. We end up making excuses, and that's why most people never change their minds. Or worse, admit they are wrong. Admitting of being wrong or changing your mind can be painful. Now, the consequence of being irrational can be terrible. 4 tips to become rational. 1. Accept that you are irrational. A person who thinks they are always rational believes they are right all the time. This kind of people ends up being led by the failed interpretation of their emotions, events, and other people. 2. Examine reactions. Analyze yourself and the situation. This enables you to slowly build up an understanding of yourself, the situation, and again, your surrounding. Doing this helps you formulate a rational response and gives you a better understanding on how to deal with similar situations in the future. 3. Pause and reflect. Have you ever been so eager for a perfect comeback as soon as you have an argument with someone? You might just be reacting from your pumped up emotion. Removing yourself from the situation and giving yourself time to pause and reflect gives that increased reaction time and a more rational response. Remember, our true colors shows when we are under pressure, and people will use this opportunity to see who you really are. 4. Accept pain. We should look to increase our pain threshold. It's okay to be wrong, hurt, or even feel guilty. If you can embrace these feelings, both the pleasurable and the uncomfortable ones, they will have less power over you. Law number 2, the law of narcissism. Meet Lisa. She's giving her best to a project they are working on. James is her boss, but often takes credit for Lisa's work when reporting to upper management. he rarely acknowledges her contributions. At the same time, quick to dismiss her ideas if they don't align with his. In meetings, James likes to be the center of attention and reacts poorly to criticism, seeing it as personal attacks. On project completion, James is presenting, but it was all about me. Lisa is upset and fuming with anger, as this is not the first time this is happening. By doing this, James is killing the team's morale. Now, all of us are narcissists at some level. James is what you call a deep narcissist. They are good at lauding their achievements and always in need of constant praise. When things go well, they take all the credit. When things go bad, they find a way to separate themselves from that responsibility. If you find yourself working with anyone like this, relax, it's not the end of the world. Just make sure to document and save your contributions in a file. Remember to share with other stakeholders, especially if you don't expect people like James to put up good words for you. For example, during the James's presentation to upper management, Lisa could chip in a few words like, "James' leadership helped guide this project, and I'm happy to have been able to contribute by handling the client communication and developing the final presentation." Now, the opposite of narcissism is empathy. This is when we forget ourselves for a moment and turn our attention to others. You will notice the more empathetic we are, the more healthy and approachable we can be. Empathetic people don't take things personally, and they quickly recover when they're hurt. They also understand people better and build good relationships. Law number 3, the law of role playing. Meet Alex. Like all of us, Alex changes the way he acts depending on the people around him. We all wear masks to adapt to different situations, be it at work, with family, friends, and even strangers. These masks aren't about deception. They're just there to help us fit in and avoid conflict. At work, Alex is a confident leader, assertive, and direct. With family, Alex is a comforting dad. With friends, he's more relaxed and humorous. Not every part of us is visible. We all have a shadow self made of hidden emotions and desires that sometimes influence our behavior. We rarely show the world the person we are deep inside. It's like having lots of theater masks, each for a different situation. If you're that person that says whatever comes to your mind in every situation, people will despise or even avoid you. I mean, there are exceptions like close family relationships where you can be that open. Understanding that everyone wears masks helps us avoid misunderstandings. If you can read the masks others wear, you can gain insights into their motivations or what drives them. This law is crucial. We don't just need it, we need to be aware we have it. Now, 2 tips regarding this law. 1, masks are necessary. There's no shame. Please wear yours proudly and use it where needed. 2, masks have cracks. That is why it is important to keep a balance. Staying true to ourselves helps us build connections, but also remember to adapt if or when needed. Law number 4, the law of compulsive behavior. Have you ever found yourself caught in a loop, repeating actions without really thinking about them? I can say most of us are hopeless without staring at our phones. For some people, biting their nails is their thing. They've tried everything, but they just won't stop. Compulsive behavior is a repeated action driven by irresistible urge, often done without a true purpose. You can try resisting the urge, but you end up getting super tense. Giving in to the urge makes you look foolish. It's like a lose-lose situation. Behavior patterns are influenced by a deep part of our personalities called character. Remember, people don't just do something once. They will repeat the good, the bad, and the ugly. Character stay with us for our full lives, so it's easier to see it when you analyze people's actions over time. Oftentimes, they don't even know they're doing it until it's too late. So here is how to use your knowledge about character to improve your relationships. Tip number 1, pay attention to people's behavior and patterns. Most importantly, how do they deal with power, responsibility, and pressure? Stress always have a way of showing people's vulnerability, making them become less flexible. You get to see who they really are. Tip number 2, value character above all else when choosing people to relate to. Choosing a partner, for example, character should be more important than attraction. This will be how you save yourself from years of incompatibility. Remember to choose people who are supportive, empathetic, and loving. Tip number 3, avoid toxic character types. Here are a few you should especially be careful of. The hyper-perfectionists usually seem dedicated, but are more concerned about being in control than about the overall good of everyone. They're relentless rebel. They hate anything that has to do with authority and can't accept criticism. The rebel instinct will turn against you sooner or later. The personalizer. They are sensitive and takes everything too personal. You practically walk on eggshells when dealing with these ones. You're forced to be too careful. The big talker. They seem great, but once you get to know them, you find out they haven't actually done or will ever do the things they mention they have or planning to. These ones just won't stop talking. The pampered prince or princess. They will try to make you feel guilty for not giving them everything they want. The savior. These ones will always be there for you until the day you try to be independent. You then realize they were just trying to buy or control you. They enjoy saving you. Law number 5, the law of covetousness. What does it mean to desire what belongs to another? Robert Greene explores this question in this law. Joseph has a box of toy, but guess what? He abandons his box of toy to fight Alex for another toy. To him, that's just how it works. Even as adults, we tend to always want what others have. Most of us will spend our lives wanting what we cannot get just because another has it. From a very early age, as we saw with kids, people just desire to get what they don't have or can't get. It's a bit weird because once we get what we want, we immediately lose interest in finding new objects to covet. This behavior repeats itself. Nothing kills our imagination faster than familiarity and predictability. Sometimes we just move from one object, job, relationship to another just because we are bored. The point is, humans can't stop coveting, but we can learn to use it in our favor. Here are 3 ways to do it. Tip number 1, find out what you want. In your coveting tendency, identify what's positive and what's counterproductive. Don't just do it because everyone else is doing it. Make sure it's what you want. It's like wanting fame without asking yourself if you will be happy with the lack of privacy for you and your family. Tip number 2, find enjoyment in your reality. Be grateful for what you are or what you have today. Being in that deeper relationship with your current reality sets the pace to be able to change what you need to change. Number 3, become an elusive object of desire. Honesty and authenticity are good things, but when exaggerated, you become boring and predictable. Think and reflect about the gaps you will need to fill in people's lives, their fantasies, and aim to become that fantasy. Look at yourself from the outside. How do people see you at work? Once you know, you can shape your person and convey the exact image you want. Whatever it is, you want to spike their curiosity and make yourself more appealing. Be available when you can and create an impression that makes everyone wants a piece of you. Just like the kids fighting over a toy, people will want it if they believe other people want it. Law number 6, the law of repression. Have you ever felt or thought about doing something out of order that you end up wondering how and why that even crossed your mind? If you tell me bad actions have never crossed your mind, I'll tell you you've been repressing from a shadow. A shadow is that side of us we hide, even from ourselves, because we don't want to admit having them. They contain your worst self, including dark secrets and desires, aggressive and selfish tendencies, which often leaks out when we are exposed to stressful circumstances. We're really good at hiding this side of us, but remember, this is not the right thing to do. The more we deny our shadow, the stronger they become. This happens culturally too. A society that prohibits its culture sometimes leads people to act on their shadow aspects. Also, people who project perfection are seen as fake and unauthentic because they are repressing a part of who they are. We are more attracted to people who embrace their shadow because all of us can relate to imperfection. Here's how to do it. Acknowledge your shadow. Pay attention to the side which you show the world. The cheerfulness, excitement, always patient and calm. You might just be hiding the opposite of that. Also, if you're too aggressive or oversensitive, reflect on what triggers those reactions in order to know yourself deeper. Embrace your shadow. Don't ignore them. Admitting to your flaws will make you relatable and even likable. Explore your shadow. Use these hidden thoughts by channeling them into your creative self. Your shadow self can be a powerful tool for creativity. Show your shadow. Allow yourself to indulge and show your shadow when the occasion arises. There might be cases where you will need to be assertive, loud, or even angry. That's okay, as long as you're aware that's what you're doing and have chosen to do so. Law number 7, the law of envy. I used to work for a web hosting company and had this manager that was good at making people feel small. He will never appreciate the work you do or give good feedback once in a while. Rather, he will be the one to spread negative gossips about people in his own team. I left the company eventually, but years later, I bumped into some of my ex-colleagues and found out they all left after I did. He was doing the same to them. Basically, anyone that challenged his ideas enters his bad book. Perhaps you may not admit it, but you do compare yourself to others. It's not a bad thing, especially if you use this as a motivating factor. It only becomes a problem when you channel that energy into envy and jealousy. Most people won't act out their envy, but if someone is spreading false rumors or sabotaging you or your work, then you are dealing with a dangerously envious person. The signs of envy are obvious. If you want to test someone, just give them a dose of good news about yourself and observe their reaction. Watch their eyes. People's eyes will show hostility even when they are saying wonderful things. You can do the opposite too. Tell them some bad stuff about yourself and observe their reaction. Trust me, just like my former manager did, envious people will make you feel uncomfortable and mocked even when they are praising you. Gossip is also a sign of envy, even when it's not about you. Stay as far as possible from envious people, as nothing good can come from them. You have no choice. Do your best to deflect envy. You can do this by just never showing up. You don't have to be there if all you get is that envious vibe. Open as little as possible about yourself and always try to draw attention away from you. Surround yourself with people who are happy for your achievements. Now, when you find yourself envious of someone, remind yourself that it's only a part of reality and other people's lives are not always better than yours. More importantly, practice feeling joyful for others so you can turn envy into a source of inspiration and admiration. Law number 8, the law of defensiveness. Robert Greene illustrated this law by highlighting a teenager who was caught selling drugs in school. He was immediately suspended. However, he was still required to do his homework. He obviously hated the idea and wanted to rebel even more. His mother had other ideas. The principal doesn't want you to go to class because he wants you to fail. He thinks students can't learn from home and he will feel terrible if you prove him wrong. course, as you would expect, this had the exact effect his mother wanted. The boy became even more determined to study and get the best possible result so he can revenge on the principal. We all believe we have these three qualities: autonomous, where we always deny we are being influenced by others and rebel if someone is trying to change us; intelligent, most of us know we are not Einstein, but hey, we believe we have our own version of intelligence, which is good enough. Good, we believe we're good people and support the right causes. This leads to the strategies to follow when dealing with the law of defensiveness. 1. Become a master persuader. Becoming a master persuader is never to put someone in a situation that threatens one of these three beliefs. This means walking inside their self-opinions, even if it's not positive or realistic one. Be empathetic and value people's beliefs before you try to persuade them. Let them feel like they are persuading you. They will feel superior, which is okay, but then they become more open to your ideas. 2. Be a deep listener. Listen more than you speak. Ensure that your response is a validation of what they are saying to you, which will make them more relaxed and open up. Please try not to make this too obvious. You don't want a conversation to look like an interview. 3. Inspire safety. When we believe people love and accept us just the way we are, we feel less defensive. Think about how you feel with people you call friends. The goal is to inspire the same feeling of security in other people. 4. Allay their insecurities. We tend to like and respect people who can appreciate us, so identify people's insecurities and do well to never trigger them. When someone asks you for their opinion, most times they don't want the truth, but they don't want a lie either. What they want is to be validated, to have their opinions confirmed. Please do this. 5. Use people's resistance and stubbornness. Some people just feel the world is against them, always ready to get defensive, and will resist anything that even smells like criticism. Your job is to use their resistance and stubbornness back at them, just like the mother did with her son. Law number 9, the law of short-sightedness. To control the population of venomous cobras in Delhi, the British government offered a bounty for every dead cobra. Initially, this policy seemed successful as many cobras were killed and people brought their carcasses to claim the reward. However, some enterprising individuals began breeding cobras specifically to kill them and collect the bounty. When the British realized this unintended consequence, they cancelled the program. Now, without any incentive, breeders released the cobras they had been rearing, leading to an even larger cobra population than before the policy was implemented. This law is what prevents you from being successful in your diet routine and getting that ideal shape. After all, it can never be easy when you have insatiable appetite for those junks. People usually react to circumstances and forget that most things are temporary and will have consequences. It's like being at the base of a mountain. You can't see anything because you're surrounded by a dense forest. You know, if you climb up, you will be able to see better. But the question is, how can you climb that mountain in order to see the big picture? Here are 4 tips. Tip number 1. Our actions bring many unforeseen consequences. To prevent this problem, try to foresee all the possible consequences before taking certain actions. This is what the British government failed to do when they launched the snake program. Remember, after identifying these consequences, ask yourself how you can deal with each of them. Tip number 2, learn to let go. Sometimes we have invested so much energy on an argument, so we insist on winning or be right no matter what. If you find yourself in this situation, ask yourself this: what are my real priorities? If I win this fight, will it help me reach my goals? Trust me, Some battles are just not worth the fight. Tip number 3, be patient. Think about when you make an online purchase. Even with the buzz of ordering something nice, you still know you have to wait. To succeed, waiting is crucial. We need to work on our patience as we establish long-term goals. Tip number 4. These days we are surrounded by so much junk information, and it's getting very difficult to get a clean path through what you really want. The solution for this is obvious, but can be tricky to make a habit. Train your mind to filter only essential things based on priority and goals. Law number 10, the law of aggression. As harsh as this may sound, aggression has been the super vital tool needed in order to survive. Imagine when we were primitive and required our aggression to hunt or fight off carnivores. Nowadays, we hardly need to hunt, fight against any animals, or dispute a cave, but our aggressive impulse still play a crucial role in our lives in today's world. Beneath our mask, we all have aggression in us. We feel insecure and vulnerable, which of course triggers this little guy called aggression. That's when we end up saying or doing things we later regret. Here are a few tips to deal with aggression. Tip number 1, recognize your patterns. You need to know where you are channeling your aggression so you can make a conscious change. Tip number 2, don't hold it in. Aggression is like pressure. If you don't let it out, somehow it will blow up and hurt you. Tip number 3, admit to your aggressions and use them to grow and improve. Tip number 4, ignore your self-doubts and be persistent. Tip number 5, turn your aggression at the problems you need to solve, but don't let it out on the people involved. It never really matters if you think they deserve it or not. Thank you for watching, and see you on the next video. For more content like this, hit the like and subscribe button. Let's make this a big journey together as we read and discuss books after books.